A very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch powered by HSBC. I'm Priya Sheth, and joining me on this conversation is Mohit Dubey from Chalo. Thank you, Mohit, for joining us today. I want to begin by talking to you a little bit about the acquisition. Chalo has acquired Vogo. Tell us a little bit about the deal and what it really means for you.
Hey, Pia, thank you for having me here. And, you've been doing a great job at DD, actually. I'm a big fan of it. Okay, so coming back to Chalo and Vogo, Chalo fundamentally exists, and you guys have written a lot of story about us. So fundamentally exists to solve daily commute, which is a really, really large problem. And we decided to solve that problem by using bus as a main mile, and solve with the existing buses first. But when you come out of a bus, you don't have your home or office next to the bus stop, and you would have to cover in many cases more than half a kilometer, and that's really really troublesome given how India's climate is, right? We're an extreme climate, and therefore Vogo makes sense because they can really power the first and last mile for everybody who comes out of the bus. For Chalo, on the deal construct, we are not disclosed the details, but largely think about it like this: Chalo has now grown three times from up September 2021 to March now, right? By we are at close to $183 million in gross ticketing value. And this also means more than 100 million rides on Chalo platform. If I have 100 million rides coming out of it, coming out of buses, then it makes so much more sense to power, these rides. And before us, before COVID, Vogo was delivering close to 50,000 rides a day. And they are really scaling up very, very well. But what will happen now is they will focus only on electric vehicles. And irrespective of the form of the vehicle, they could be across different, but they'll focus on electric vehicle and solve first and last mile. And if you also see, most of the companies built around first and last mile in the world, they've been built around public transport. And India's public transport is not rails, they are not metros, they are buses, because buses are 40 times bigger than metros. Metros are just $500 million, in the total ticketing value. Buses are $23 billion. And if you have to build a last mile, first mile company, it has to be built around buses. I think I spoke a lot. Let me take a pause there if you have something else to ask.
Right, Mohit, thanks for that. I want to understand, when it comes to the integration of the two businesses, how will it, go about it? And, what is the kind of expansion that you're looking at in terms of cities, in terms of reaching more consumers?
Sure. Let me answer the second part first. Chalo has been expanding, as I said, right? We have grown 3x in last 6 months. So we continue to go deeper in our markets and also open up new markets. We just opened up Maharashtra. We are looking at Tamil Nadu now. We have been in Assam. We have been in Karnataka, Kerala, MP. These are all our core markets. So we'll continue to do more and more there. For Vogo, they've been in Bangalore and Hyderabad, but they will expand to other cities, especially the Chalo cities. So that's very obvious. And they will also look at North, given the business model now they have, they can open up a lot more cities in North as well. You do not want to integrate two subscale businesses. Chalo has 1.5% market share of the total buses in this country, right? We sound like the largest. At 100 million rides per year, Chalo would be bigger than all other mobility companies combined at their peak, not after COVID, at their peak. But we are still 1.5% of of the total buses in this country. So we are really, really small and tiny. And so is Vogo. With 50,000 rides a day, what are we talking about? So two sub-scale companies, you don't want to put them together and integrate, very holistically, and then try and have more problem at hand. So we'll continue to build Vogo as a brand, continue to build Vogo as a model. APIs can talk to each other, product can get integrated. Somebody using a Chalo app can also book a Vogo, a Chalo card can be used to book a Vogo ride, and vice versa. Those are easy things to solve for. That I will do irrespective with any other integration as well, in a last mile, first mile partnership. But other than that, we'll continue to have two brands and two companies and build them separately. If that answers your question.
Right. Thanks for that, Mohit. I want to understand in terms of the future roadmap for Chalo, what have you planned out there? Other adjacencies that you'd like to get into? What kind of business model have you shaped up and your plan for 2022 going forward?
Sure. So as I said, we are really tiny. At 100 million rides are really nothing. Our big, hairy, audacious goal over the next 4 or 5 years to get to 100 million rides every day. And one of that milestone would be to get to, we are at 7,000 buses. Our goal is to get to the 15,000 buses, before the year end. So let me at least double from where we are today. And the potential is to really grow this number significantly, very, very large. But what has really happened here is that we have also been very, very lucky to open up Bangkok and Manila for us. as markets. And these markets have very similar problem as India have. People are waiting at the bus stop, not knowing when the bus will come. Everybody has to buy the ticket in cash, so there's no customized plans, etc., etc. So very similar problem. Operator again have to deal with pilferage, no visibility on their operation. So when we digitize this whole category, is relevant for many emerging markets. So we'll open up international presence as well, and double down on that. Besides going deeper into these markets, the other thing, Priya, is that in many of the markets where we focused on, our digital penetration, the number of rides which happens on the Chalo app, on the Chalo card, has been like a 20 to 35% in some of our key markets. We want to make sure that every market that we operate in gets to do these kind of numbers. And the one thing you would love to hear is that, and every time we go to Europe and even Korea and many other markets, you will see buses running without conductor. You'll see buses which are completely, sort of digital at time. And our goal is to really pilot in multiple markets to say, how do we run cashless buses, how we run 100% digital buses, which buses, where you can just onboard and pay using an app or a card and literally have a seamless experience. We'll literally double down on the product side, then international side, and then go deeper in our existing markets.
Absolutely. In terms of fundraise, I believe you did raise some funds last year. What is the plan going forward? You have an aggressive expansion strategy that you put into place. So what kind of funds will be required to really scale up the business from here on?
Yeah, Chalo has a potential to become to do something like a $10 billion in gross ticketing value over the next 4 or 5 years. We're building such a large business, right? It will require a lot of capital. The good thing is our business model allows us to stay contribution positive, from day one on every bus that we operate, and therefore it doesn't really suck in capital like many mobility companies. Our CAC, the cost of acquiring a customer, has been literally zero, because every customer that we want to target is sitting inside the bus or standing at the bus stop. We can go out and literally acquire them at that place using our in-bus branding, outside bus branding, bus stop branding, etc., etc. So CAC has been low. We have been contribution positive given the business model that we built in. So it does require lesser amount of capital than what a typical mobility company would require. But nonetheless, it will have, huge. And today, it, right? You cover it every day. Every company is in a perpetual fundraise mode. Either they want to go out and do it, or there are so much more inbounds. We've been lucky to have very, very good investor backing us up. So the internal fundraiser is anyways available and we can do it anytime. For example, we did something for powering our acquisition that we did recently. But in general, we would go and raise money whenever we need to. Actually, I don't have anything very concrete on the plan today, but there are enough inbounds. If I announce someday, don't be surprised, because these discussions happen all the time now.
Right. Final questions for let you go on the revenue front. What kind of revenue targets have you set for yourself?
So I said we are at a $183 million gross ticketing value. That's the number that the metrics to look at, because it gives you the size of the business. Typically in the markets, we operate between 7% to 16% gross take. So of this amount, any number between these would be our take rate actually. So Chalo would be easily around about $13 to $15 million revenue run rate today, from where we are. And this is growing very fast here. So the good thing is every time we add a bus, it adds up to the GTV, it's up to our revenue, it adds up to our contribution margin. And now same will happen with Vogo, and it's happening with Shuttle as well now.
All right, Mohit, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time.